Hello, my name is Noelle Parnell, and I welcome you today to the beautiful island of Kuai and to this presentation of the Prison Smart Foundation. We're here today to interview the Executive Program Director of the Prison Smart Foundation, Mr. Thomas Duffy. Hi, Tom.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Tom, I've read a lot about Prison Smart, and it's my understanding that it's been implemented already throughout the entire United States and is currently working throughout the entire island structure of Hawaii. Could you tell us exactly what the Prison Smart Foundation is about?
Let's see. Best way to describe Prison Smart is a smart way of approaching criminal justice and criminal rehabilitation. The word SMART after prison means stress management and rehabilitative training. That's what the SMART is. And we basically started it with the concept of giving a new alternative to violence and aggressive behavior, a more holistic, more natural way. Program's pretty simple. It uses a lot of different breathing practices and a little bit of light stretching. It's very spiritual, but it's very non-denominational. So it's able to be applied with any religious background that a person might have. We usually try to get about 10 days of programming time, 10 two-hour sessions. Ideally, that would be the case it would shoot for, but a lot of times what we're doing here in Hawaii is we've got a phase 1 application where we teach the victory breath, which is a breathing practice that the body does right before it falls asleep every night. And in yoga, it's called ujjayi breath. It means to be supreme and victorious over fear. And it's something that the body does right before it falls asleep. And then they learn a series of breathing exercises called 3-stage breathing, which expand the different lobes of the lungs. The lower lobe, middle lobe, and the upper lobe of the lungs is basically the main parts of the lung chamber, lower, middle, and upper. But generally, one of the things that we tell the participants in the program is that we use about 30% of our lungs capacity, but about 80% of the body's toxins are released through the breath. And so if we're only using about 30% of our lung capacity, then there's a lot of toxins that are not being released through the body because the breath has a series of things called shuns, has the way it gets rid of toxins, has digestion, has perspiration, and it has respiration. So these shuns, as we call them in the program, they expel or push out the toxins. And so one thing that the body does is it uses these main vehicles of getting toxins out of the body, and it does by using these different shuns. Most of us, our digestion doesn't work very good. We don't eat very well, and the food that the participants eat, if they're incarcerated, is usually institutional food. It's really not that good quality. So digestion usually isn't working that good. Most of them exercise weightlifting. Not many of them get a really good, accurate, quote-unquote, cardiovascular workout, like an aerobic workout. So perspiration isn't working that well. But what the body does have, that it does 17 times every minute, is it inhales and exhales. So what we do is we tap into the body's natural mechanisms using the breath primarily, and different physiological responses that the body has to increase the body's ability to release toxins and reduce stress. And that's basically the phase 1 part of the program, is to learn this 3-stage breathing, which are different hand positions, where the inmates will actually hold their hands in different positions, 1st stage, 2nd stage, and 3rd stage. And then on the phase 2 program application, which is a little bit more in depth, it's a number of more sessions, 4 to 5 more sessions of 2-hour sessions, which we actually go into building on the 3-stage breathing, using these hand positions to expand the 3 lobes of the lungs, and also instructing the participants in what's called the healing breath.
It sounds like there's a tremendous benefit to the overall health and physiology of the participant. Have you noticed if there are any other benefits to taking this program?
The majority of it is tied in with health. You know, the first day after the first session, most of the inmates will come back and say they got the first good night's sleep in their whole time period of being incarcerated. And you look at the individual and you say, how long have you been in jail? And they say, in and out since I was 13, and I'm 38 now, so you do the math. And a lot of them they get a lot of sleep deprivation. And if you know anything about sleep deprivation, it causes a lot of problems when you deprive a person of sleep. The thing that we hear a lot from the staff and other inmates is that certain individuals that were really kind of, arrogant and volcanic like personalities that just would burst up in an emotion, they all of a sudden, after the program, once they start to get a sense of the peace inside, they're able to get more of a control over their emotions, and they tend to be more manageable. And staff has shared that also with the correctional officers that we've talked to. Taxpayers, we're spending $20,000 to $30,000 a year to house one inmate, with the hope of our return of this investment, which is a rehabilitated individual. But what we get back in return is a more debilitated individual. The person that has a very low self-esteem, has an addiction or a substance abuse problem, or behavioral problems, dealing with stress and anger, or they're just not wired right. It's a very small percentage that are just not wired right, the sociopathic individuals. We take those individuals and put them into a prison environment, and we punish the hell out of them. And then we're shocked that when they come out, they're worse off and our crime rates are going up. When somebody asks me why help inmates, I say, well, why don't we do as much as we can to rehabilitate individuals so we can put them back into society with better human values, more of a structure on their life, and be able to live more of a constructive, positive lifestyle. It's smart for the society because our streets will be safer. It's smart for our governments because our criminal justice budgets will be less. And it's smart for just the world in general because we should be taking care of each other, not beating each other up more. Yeah. This whole concept of lock them up and throw away the key, we're only throwing away the key to our own future, you know. You look back at history, all the biggest pushers and shakers, I guess is the word, people that really did something were people that had an association with jails. If you look back in history, you see Jesus Christ, one of the, he was the founder of, well, the basis of Christianity, beautiful world religion. He was a prisoner of the Roman Empire. He was locked up and tortured to death. He was a criminal. You go throughout history, there's a list a mile long. The way the Buddhists were persecuted in China, Tibet, and how that launched Buddhism across the global to make it into a global religion. And modern day people, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, hundreds of individuals that were very influential people in our history were criminals. And so I believe that we're missing a big point here. We've got people that really can bring a lot of change in the society, really are people that take a lot of courage. That person has to have a lot of courage. Criminals have a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to commit a crime. You just need to take all that energy that they've got and refocus it. And these individuals, I tell you, will be able to do great works in the society. Why do I say that? Because look back at history, at the individuals that did great works and great, phenomenal service to the world. They were all criminals. That doesn't mean, I'm not trying to say a blanket statement. Everybody that's a criminal or everybody that did something good had criminal behavior. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is just the society needs to look at this.
I understand that your mission statement is violence ends where love begins. That's just beautiful. And I was wondering, how does a program that uses the breath assist a person when violence arises in them or anger?
Here's a situation. You walk into your house and your spouse meets you at the door and she or he is totally in your face and you are in a position of responding to that. She is or he is just completely irate, yelling, screaming, pacing back and forth, throwing things that way. Say you've had a really long day yourself and your energy level is very low and you're very stressed. What's your response going to be? Take a guess.
Oh, very volatile, I would assume.
Very volatile and apt to wanting to yell back.
Yeah.
Imagine you come home from work and is in the state in which you left. Very peaceful, haven't taken on a lot of stresses, very stress-free. Your response will be more apt to what? I mean, generally, your response would be to observe, oh, my spouse is really upset. I wonder what's bothering him or her. And more likely, you'll be in a position of negotiating a little bit more, of having a discussion. Honey, what's up? Why are you acting this way? Why you seem so just, what happened? What's going on? Type of a response. That's the difference. When a person on the street has a lot of stress and somebody comes up to them and says something like an insult, then it's like they push a button. It's like they push a button and Coca-Cola comes out. One of the things that we tell the participants is don't be a football to other people's opinions. Because when we're out of control, we are reactive. But when we're in control, we're responsive. So like in the first scenario, when you come home and your spouse might be freaking out on you, unstressing on you, you're apt to join in the fire and become upset yourself. Your center becomes shaken. But if you're very centered, self-confident, and at peace inside, you're more apt, and of course it's not a blanket statement, but you're more apt to respond more in a productive manner. A person that is using drugs and alcohol is looking for a way to relieve stress. You know, you ask a person, what's the first thing you do when you get stressed? Oh, I light up a smoke. Well, nicotine, it's very soothing. It helps a person calm their nerves down a little bit. Just go home and have a couple beers. You know, that's a famous one. I just have a couple beers, or I only had a couple beers. You know, and basically people are using drugs and alcohol to relax. You know, you come home from work, you have a glass of wine. That's fine. You know, if that's what you like to do. Some people can't do that. You know, some people act differently when they use alcohol. Some people get very aggressive and belligerent when they use alcohol. What we do here is we give them an opportunity to have an alternative. Instead of using the drugs and alcohol, which is an exterior substance, we give them tools that are an interior substance, the prana and life force, bioenergy in the body. Raise that and you feel happy. When it's depleted, you feel bad, you feel sad, you feel less positive. Your mindset's very negative. Also majoring in adolescent psychology in Massachusetts, and wanted to extend my studies and went over to India in 1991 and had a chance to meet this yoga teacher, Panditji, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, and studied yoga with him, and still am studying yoga with him. It's just been a great, what?
It's very distracting to like do stuff on your face and nose.
And when I met Panditji,
Yummy.
okay. Want me to start over? It doesn't matter. I can just come in anytime I want, right? In 1991, when I went to India, where do I start? From the beginning?
Good.
You can start right from there.
Start right there.
Won't it? What do you? How do you?
She asked the question and you just started.
Okay, I took the program first in. It was in the fall of 1990, and at the time I was.
Now this is the Healing Breath workshop, correct? This is not
Yeah.
the Prison Smart program.
No,
that
Prison
had yet
Smart hadn't even existed then.
I see.
It was basically through a nonprofit called the Art of Living Foundation. I was at a time in my life where I was getting sober and wanting to change a lot of ways that I was looking at things, and I was very interested in how different programs would benefit me. So I tried a lot of different workshops, but this one really was fantastic because I had always taken workshops, and they had, you'd spend $400 to take this program, and then you had to spend another $400 to experience that same program over again. And the thing that really touched me about the Art of Living basic course that I had experienced back then was that it was a training. Every time I sat and did the 10-minute healing breath practice, I was brought right back home, right back to where I was. Felt like a little kid, full of enthusiasm, stress-free. And I was majoring in adolescent psychology because I wanted to do work with kids. And so what I did was I wanted to extend that. And so I chose to go over to India in 1991 to an ashram, and got to meet, his name is Panditji, or Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. He's a yoga teacher, and I studied yoga over there, and decided I wanted to become a teacher of this program, and came back with a great concept and idea that I was going to take this into prisons and use it as a form of criminal rehabilitation with a primary focus of stress management. So started applying it at Barnstable County Jail in Massachusetts in 1992, and we developed the program over 2 or 3 years. And around 1994, 1995, we started getting a lot of really positive feedback from administrators. The administrators really are the ones that launched Prison Smart, because I was doing it and I was happy doing it there. I was in my own backyard. I could take time off from work and this and that. But what happened was I found that the program sort of started taking on a life of its own. And when people ask me, how did you find Prison Smart? Or how did you found Prison Smart? I say, Prison Smart found me. I wasn't really the founder of Prison Smart. Prison Smart found me. And it kind of found everybody that's been a participant in it. I was originally, taking 1 or 2 days off, 2 afternoons off a week, and I would teach 1 course. And then after a while, I started teaching 2 courses at the same time, then 3 courses at the same time. By the time the 1996 rolled around, I had taught about 1,700 participants myself. And administrators were saying, wow, this program's really working. Frank, who was, walking around pounding people on the top of their head and knocking them out, he's now playing cards with people, and he's reaching out to other inmates. Now he's going to school and church, This is really shifting this guy, all because he's breathing a certain way. They said, you got something. James Fredericks and some of the other officers there, they said, you should go national with something like this, it's a really good program. So I said, well, that's a good idea. I wonder how I do that. So a group of business-minded people came to my side, Tom Reinhardt, Chan and Judy Clark, a few other people, and they said, let's get you organized. Let's start a nonprofit, get your paperwork in, boom, 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 and everything took off. We got our nonprofit status the following September in '96, and we started the Prison Smart Foundation, and we started expanding across the country. The first 2 years, we opened up 14 facilities. And so, one of the things that I think made Prison Smart so successful was that our main focus was to uplift people. That every person that came into Prison Smart needed to be uplifted. That was our #1 rule. Because I always felt that if we weren't uplifting people, then we're just hypocrites. If we're not how can we say we're just here to uplift criminals when our own organization isn't uplifting itself? So having that sort of vision of, I've always said, I don't care if a program fails, and I don't care if anybody even likes the program. But what I care about is that people that come and volunteer with Prison Smart are uplifted spiritually.